It's the T.N.F, the night where we hand over the keys to the passengers. Kind of do that every fucking night anyway, let's be honest. But anyway, we'll kid on at the T.N.F, this brand new format that we do once a week. You know what I mean? Where we just bring up folks' points and read them out and put them to the panel, as it's known. But anyway, we'll crack on with the Thursday Night Forum this week. And it's a star-studded lineup. As always, the judge joins me down the bottom. Judge Kearney, what is happening, my boy?
I'm doing very well, mate. How are you? How's things?
All good. Working till 8, then was making my dinner. Was far over ambitious. I thought I could fit into the time constraints. Then decided to nip to the shop and get juice. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm on one of my
microchips. That's the way ahead, mate. Microchips, 3 minutes. All you need.
Is that? I know. I'm a posh eater, though. You know that.
I've seen your cheese boards at midnight, mate. I've seen them.
I'm a deceptively posh eater. Connor Carr, you join us. You look at least 34 the night, mate. Well fucking done, son. You had a wee shave.
I have, aye. Anyway, how's it go, legends? How well? But no, lads, I'm good. I'm good. I've not been up too much. Just starting a new job and that. But I think I'm planning on just maybe doing a wee bit of charity work later on in the year. I'm going to climb the pyramids of Giza in the space of about 2 hours. So I think I'm planning on going doing that. If you can help raise a bit of money for that, it'd be much appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, mate. Definitely. Johnny, how we doing? I don't know how the fuck you're back home already. You sent me a photo yesterday with a bus stop on a sun lounger in Houston. What the fuck, mate? How are you even here?
Oh, God, it's... I left... I think in the last 30 hours I've had about 5 hours sleep. Left Houston yesterday at... Oh, don't even ask me what day of the week it is now. I've lost track. But left Houston at 7 o'clock Houston time last night. Landed back in the UK at 12:30 this afternoon. Drove up from Heathrow and seeing you were looking for somebody to jump on here. I thought, well, why not?
You do well, mate. You do well.
Cars, planes. I may as well go on a bus, like, you know.
That's it, mate. I love it. All that good stuff means like, share, slag the hair. If you want to give a wee subscription and all that, right now we are on the road to 4K. We're all on the road to 4K. Nobody expected that, by the way. I tell you this, 20 months the bus has been rolling and we are about to smash 4K before the season even kicks off. And that will be down to you. So you're sitting watching and maybe mildly enjoying it. Just hit the subscribe button. It costs you F all. If you want to become the Boise Bus member like so many of you have, and it means the world to us, like Monty. Yeah, thanks, Monty, for the message earlier. Like Phil McGinley. I read that out as if he's a viewer. Alistair Jack, Gary Brown, Pam, Martin Weir, Patrick McLaughlin again, Jim Dolan, Danny O'Malley, Ali, that rhymed. We'll leave it there. Ali Pally, David Ferguson, there's another member. Members everywhere. Sound. And remember as well, piesports.com, 12.5% at the checkout. Right, okay, let's get cracking. Mark, we will come to the judge first because it's kind of your staple show. You're a bit of an anchor on here, aren't you? You're like, when you're the hosts may vary, but you're the Simon Jordan of the T.N.F, mate. You're always here with your forthright views, and we like that on the bus. That's one of the reasons why the bus is unique, because we don't make it an echo chamber where we all need to go, yeah, Mark, that's right. Actually, I don't agree with you, but I'll just say yeah because we're on a podcast. No, we're going to have a good wee debate tonight because Daizen Maeda signs a new deal. The second Japanese player to announce that he would sign a new deal. The one main worry we had when Andrew was leaving was, what does it mean for the Japanese boys? Well, 2 first-team regulars have now signed on till 2027. Daizen Maeda is going to be one that I think is going to be the club protecting themselves. I believe right now Saudi Arabian money has went nuts. I think they're a threat to every club in Europe. And I'd say threat loosely. I've got nothing against what's happening. I know they're human rights stuff. I just mean from a sporting context. I've got nothing against any league that wants to spend money because that's what's happened down south. So when they get on their foe offended by it, they can ram it because it's the exact same thing that they did. Just, in fact, in their human rights record down there ain't all that great either. So when it comes to the protecting of players' contracts, I can see a lot of value in making sure we're going to get the maximum value for our first-team players. Not because we're looking to sell, but it's just protecting assets as well. As for on the park, I wonder if Brendan's main project for the summer will be not winning over any sceptical fans, Mark, but getting some techers out here, Daizen.
I think that'll be his most difficult challenge, to be quite honest with you. I like Daizen Maeda. I think all in all, he's probably been a sort of a meh player. You know what I mean? I don't think he would be one that you'd be devastated to lose, but I'm happy to keep him. I didn't think he was going to go this window unless Celtic made it clear he wasn't part of the plans. I couldn't see anybody giving him an offer, unless looking at his World Cup displays, he impressed a few folk. But I thought he would have went in January if that was the case. I thought his stock was really high in January after the World Cup, and nothing happened. So when I seen the news tonight, like I totally understand where you're coming from. It's Celtic protecting their assets. That's great. I mean, when Kyogo signed on, I was delighted with that. The Jota deal just shows you that you have to be really careful just now, because I was saying to my dad, I mean, we don't need to lose Jota to see, like, this isn't like something that's a worry for Celtic, these clubs, because Judge sporting a bow tie. No,
I can't not see it now.
I'll turn this down now. I suppose I took my t-shirt off like one of us. It's not because it's because he Boyce's cheese board. I thought I looked a bit eloquent. So talk about, like, so these markets that are opened up and they're taking players, that has never been a threat to Celtic, because we could have lost Jota to a £40,000 a week Brighton and Hove Albion. Let's be honest here. We've always lost players to that sort of market. Doesn't need to be 200 grand. So I did get the club protecting themselves, like Maeda, for instance. To be honest with you, as a club signing, and I'm not too worried about it. I did put a wee bit of. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think that Brendan's not even looked at the squad yet. He only started working Monday, in my opinion. And I think the first team players on the back yet, they've still got a few more days to go for their back before you see your McGregor's and your Kyogo's not coming back. So he's going to assess the players before you see some major changes. But I just felt like there's going to be optics involved here, and the club signing on guys like Scott Bain and all the rest of it, signing up 4 extensions for Maeda. That just looks like we're signing, we're just trying to keep us already here and try to keep that stable. I think we should, Daizen Maeda, in my opinion, should be one of the first players we look at and say, he was a first 11 player last season. We have absolutely got to improve on that guy, because that guy will not springboard a Celtic team. Boys, he's got the footballing ability of a Hearts player. Let's be honest, but his work rate, his dedication is of an elite level. But playing football, nobody can tell me he's going to springboard Celtic to another level. I just can't accept that. I
think that's fair. One of the things that surprised me as well, Connor, right, was with the Maeda deal that we did, it comes only 18 months after he's arrived. I think that a wee bit peculiar as well. Like, it's not like, we see with Kyogo, he was 2 years into a 4-year deal, halfway point, sticker twist. I think Maeda's 18 months into a 5-year deal. Am I right in thinking that? Was it 4? Even still, it just feels like it's quite early days to be doing that. So that's what leads me to think maybe they've had a tip-off of some sort of interest elsewhere, and they're actually just trying to get that valuation to its absolute peak for him. Because I think from a footballing point of view, Rodgers hasn't had a chance to assess him yet. And you get where the judge is coming from. You want him to have a wee look and say, give him a wee wink and say, I fancy you, Maeda. You're going to be my boy. Don't know if you've seen him grabbing folks' faces and they'd be covering the training ground and that. So, give him a wee wink and say, right, I'm going to make a player of you. But he's not had an opportunity to do that yet, Connor. But he's signed this new term. Now, the Kyogo one, you go, doesn't matter whether you've seen him or not, Rodgers. Like, do you know what I mean? He's part of the plan, right? Maeda, I don't know, because I know how much of an emphasis he puts on technical ability. That is one of his main things with Rodgers. Fitness, I love that side of him. Absolutely. The work rate, effective. But I don't know, 18 months in, something tells me this isn't a particularly footballing decision necessarily. Not because he won't play a part in the team. I think he will. But I just wonder if there's something else afoot as to what's led to this sort of quite premature contract extension. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a bit strange. Out of all the players that I thought would have got a contract extension into them, Maeda was probably down the bottom half of that list. But I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm happy that he's staying, and I think I like him a bit more than Mark does. But that's not to say that I think he's excellent. I think he's actually pretty good. I think a lot of his work rate is, I'd say people say that's all it is, but then if he didn't have that, then I don't think the team would work as well. And his defensive capabilities as well. He's one of the only wingers, I think, in that team that if if someone's bombing up the park, try to come for a goal, Maeda will be right there with him, try to close him down. And he did that a couple of times in Europe as well. So if Rodgers can do to Maeda what he did to the likes of James Forrest and Scott Brown, even though a totally different position, but it got a more technical game at Scott Brown. Scott Brown was kind of one of these by the end.
I agree with that because I think Scott Brown at times he went into this holding midfield role where he started just sort of playing like square. He was almost trying to be the stereotypical holding midfield role. Whereas if you look at some of his highlights reels in the Roger era corner, the amount of wee flicks
he was doing fucking drag backs and bringing 30-yard passes against Rangers whilst he's getting tackled. And if you don't think he meant that, then you're being silly because he 100% did. So if Rodgers is able to get that kind of response out of Daizen Maeda, then I think we do have a player in our hands. I think that's the only thing that I think's necessarily missing for Maeda's game is the final third bit, and that's obviously the bit that wingers really need to have going for them. I mean, he's got the pace, but besides that, going forward, he's kind of a bit of an enigma. I mean, his crossing ability, geez, it peeps, man. It's not very good, but if he could improve on that, I think he'd be one of the most valuable and one of the best players in the team. I mean, you look at how everybody thought James Forrest was going to move on and go to like a Hibs or go to a championship team in England or something like that, and then he had that competition in Patrick Roberts, and he was also working really closely with Brendan Rodgers. He just turned him into a completely different animal when Brendan Rodgers was there.
So true.
And a lot of people forget that because a lot of people just in their mind are like, Forrest was a good player in his day and, he's getting a bit on now. But no, there was a point where people didn't rate Forrest Island. A lot of people still don't. But it was down to Brendan Rodgers and his management style. So I think with Maeda, we'll just have to see what happens. But then I don't know why he's been given the contract extension because I think he still had a good few years left on it. Unless there's rumours that we don't know about that there was bids coming in for him. So I don't know. It's just
was he on the list of cards that the Al Ittihad had in the trailer video? Was it Daizen Maeda?
Yeah, it might be one of the.
Whoa!
Might be one of the cards that Hibs had in their video as well.
Oh, he's not going to Hibs, mate. He's not going to Hibs. Johnny, Maeda's one of these players. I mean, I think we can all have a different opinion football-wise, so I want yours on what you think he brings to the squad. Do you know what I mean? Because, again, Mark's absolutely entitled to think what he does. Clearly, Ange thought differently. Let's be honest. I mean, for whatever reason, I think maybe it was an effect thing. And it's a conundrum for me because whilst I agree a lot of the time with Mark, I go, fucking hell, look at that touch there, or why is he doing a diving header and it's coming off his back, and all sorts of moments you've seen throughout last season where you go, that's almost like parody. You then look at the colour at Easter Road, Hibs, funnily enough, and you go, where's that coming from? So there has to be, I couldn't do that with a ball. I could do all the fuck-ups that he does, but I couldn't do that. No. And you start thinking, so there has to be a level of ability somewhere that someone sees. Are you quite happy from a footballing perspective that Daizen's been tied down?
I like him. I do like him, but I do agree with Mark. He's got the first touch of an elephant 9 times out of 10. But he just does things that you've just said about the Hibs goal, where he goes, "Where did that come from?" Mm-hmm. But there's another couple of times when his first goal for Celtic, again against Hibs, 4th minute. Ball's crossed in, and he gives it a little flick, and it's in the back of the net. And you think, "Whoa, we've got a superstar here who's off to a flyer." The goal that he scored against Rangers when he took the ball off of Tavernier, he was the only player in the park. In fact, he's probably the only player in Scotland that could have scored that goal. But it was all down to one thing, and that was pace. And then we were all surprised that he kept his composure and stuck the ball in the back of the net as well. And then, of course, the pace that he used to to set up the goal in the semi-final. When everybody else went to sleep except for him, he nips in and on the rare occasion put in a good cross, and Jota scores the winning goal, doesn't he? But I like him. His work rate, nobody can ever question his work rate. You said there that Ange obviously seen something in and liked him. Not only Ange, but the Japanese manager, he's the same. He picks him up pretty much all the time now, doesn't he? But he plays him through the middle. Yeah, but I like him. I was quite happy for him to stay. I don't really think it matters now at the moment how long a contract somebody's signed, whether it be an extension, whether it be a new signing. Because if the Saudi boys come along and say, we want him, we'll give you X amount of millions, and more to the point as far as the player's concerned, they'll give him X amount of millions, then they're going to go anyway. But Mark is obviously going to be quite happy that he's staying because it means he's going to win at least one bet this year,
Well, interestingly as well, Matt, I want to get your take on this, because I've not really had a chat with you in a wee while. Apologies for last night. I knew it was going to be a short show, and I thought if it was me and the judge, it'll be an hour.
Minimum, man.
Aye, do you know what I mean? I was like, no, I've not got time for that. So I want to pick your brains on, if my theory is right, and perhaps Celtic are tying down players, and there might be more assets that we see in the team getting tied down on long-term deals, and I think it could be relating to the fact that two things. The bigger leagues might start getting shafted by the Saudi money and their better players going, and then we become easy pickings for the so-called other bigger leagues out there because they need to replace the players that they lose to it. Or, of course, the direct, and I say threat not in a bad way, but the direct prospect, shall we say then, of the Saudi league going, that Jota was fucking good. Any more in that league? The same way Ange did with the J League. And we can't have it both ways, by the way. We've got to accept this is the nature of the beast now. But do you think that we're now entering another phase here where, actually, from a Celtic point of view, the fucking law of the land might be getting levelled up a wee bit here, do you know? See, when we're actually seeing here, here's a real threat. This isn't a Chinese league where they were only actually allowed 3 players that were non-Chinese in their team, each team. So the threat was always very much with a glass ceiling. So yes, they could poach an Oscar from Chelsea, for example, right? And that might have seemed crazy because he was 26, but it was the money. Couldn't say no to the money. But they could only do it 3 times each team. Saudis have no rules here and unlimited funds. Trillionaires are running these clubs. We can't even begin to describe the money. But could it be a bit of a leveler where we're fucking sitting there going, all right, well, if you want our players, we've now proven we've got you Belter and Jota there. We'll do business with you. We're going to make over 30 million quid, I think, in total that deal will end up equating to. I just wonder what you're taking. Has the Saudi thing shaked it up in such a way that actually, transfer-wise, this might work out in our favour because we're going to get a balance that's fucking... They've had to announce, I think Regan was telling us, to the stock exchange, we're going to have far more funds, basically, than what we expected come the end of June or something like that. And also, does that mean that the other clubs that usually have their sway, whether they want to pray from us or not, they can, but we're in a position where we can start getting EPL fees from EPL clubs because our bank balance is so high. I know it's only one transfer in Jota, but I do think clubs are on their guard here now, left, right and centre from, it could be you next, and it could be that player, and it could be that one. And see when we come in with our money, there's fuck all you can do about it, but say yes.
Well, set a standard at least, you know what I mean? And our top players normally go for, 10, 12, 15 million. That's our kind of your glass ceiling, so to speak. I mean, you do get the Kieran Tierney's and the Edouard deal, which still surprises me to this day, but they do happen, but they're abnormal rather than normal, boys. I think the Saudi thing, I think it'll be good for football. I'm probably one of the few people who think that because I think it was getting to a stage where England were just about to take over. They were just on the edge of just taking over the full world of football. And what that's done is that's put England down. That's put England down a peg or two because you've seen guys at Milan losing 2 players to Man U, Newcastle are signing at Milan players, the keepers going for at Milan. These are Champions League finalists last season and they're getting decimated by bang average English teams, you know what I mean? And I thought, this just puts them in their place now. I mean, there's a pot of money, the PFI, fund or something as have put by into in Saudi Arabia or whatever it is, and it's £620 billion in this pot for these 4 teams. So they want to take over, they'll take over, mate. And it's
true.
It is, and there is clubs within that structure that can maybe no go that kind of money, but they'll still outbid us. But I see if there's a wee bit of an auction taking place, and Celtic are looking at Celtic. I've got an asset. I mean, there's a potential for
Is he frozen it just at my end?
Celtic to hold after. Oh, can you hear me? I don't know.
Sorry, mate. Go repeat your last sort of 15 seconds, mate.
I never remember what I said.
Wi-Fi's. Sorry, mate. My Wi-Fi's that bad. I just presume it's me, and I might just hope.
No, mine's not bad. What did I get to?
Sorry, mate.
No, sorry. What did I get to?
15 seconds ago.
Fuck's sake, man.
Sorry, pal. Excited.
No, you're talking about the big pot of money that 4 of these clubs in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, so
the other one somebody got that. Got plenty.
There's like PFI fund or whatever it is. They've got £620 billion in it. You know what I mean? That's that. I've seen that. So that's how much money they've got to spend. That's ridiculous. But what that brings the threat to the English teams. If they do want to come to Scotland and buy our players, they've got the auction. The Celtic have got the auction the option to have an auction with these teams, and they'll need to add. They'll need to add onto the price, onto the asking price. If they want Celtic's best talents, they need to start spending proper money. I mean, we've been letting players go for far too cheap for long enough. I've got a realism in what Celtic get. It doesn't mean it's what I think they're worth in today's market. I just think there's a realism out there in what Celtic will get for a player. Let's be honest. But Jota, I think Jota's a special talent. I still think £25 million. If he's in the Championship, he's gone for 40. I mean, but when you're playing against Inverness Carlys and Hearts and Dundees, we've sat for about a year and a half saying how bad the league is. So we can't exactly say, but I still think he's worth a lot more than 25-30 million. But Celtic can use this to the advantage. I do think it's a turning point for the financial, because let's be honest here, there's a strategy in place here. These clubs have got strategies. They follow that. Countries get a strategy when it comes to football. There's 2 things here that play. UEFA can't put any sanctions on them because they're no part of UEFA, and they want Champions League. There's a middle ground there, and that's to let them into UEFA. It's the obvious answer. Both are winners, and then before you know it, it's a new Super League, but it's done under the underhand. That's the end game here. That is the strategists on the highest wages that you could think of. These people know what they're doing, and they'll know that it'll be short-term thinking, you know what I mean? But longer term, they will get, because see teams, even like Man City, can't compete with that. I mean, the guy who took over Newcastle, he's come in and he's seemingly like 100 times richer than these guys that own Man City.
Different sport, mate. A different
and he's
sport.
Compared to the guys, as I'm saying, the country's put by a pot of money, this PFI fund, and it's £620 billion for these 4 teams to spend. Or they've bought 4 teams. The country's bought 4 teams, and they're just trying to promote the league so much. I bet you, like your Messi probably found it too late that he signed for the wrong country. I mean, the money that guy could have got would have been unbelievable. But
there must have been an offer made to him.
You would like to think so. I mean, surely he could have. The only way I can think about, the only way I can maybe level up my head is maybe he's thought America's just been better for him. You know what I mean? Maybe he's seen himself longer term, like a David Beckham. Like he's created a club here there. You know what I mean? Maybe he thinks I could have a legacy here. I could have something that Maradona didn't have. But just to answer your point quickly, I do think this will, even if it's not a leveler, Boise, one thing's for sure, it's a game changer. And at least the Celtic, I think, will profit for this, because now we're in a position where we can say, see if you don't want our players, we can offer their players a second jump up for Celtic. Maybe no quality-wise, although I would argue Benzema and N'Golo Kante is probably a better act than Kyogo and Daizen Maeda. But I'm just saying, you can offer these players the springboard to be earning £100 a week, should the next move be coming there rather than £35 a week at Bournemouth.
I think the corner we're in a situation where the clubs are on red alert that might be susceptible to be poached by these, but poached by the Saudi Arabian clubs in terms of the finance, they're willing to spend on any player whatsoever, whether it be just in wages. I think there's someone 200 million a year just in wages. I think Benzema's on something like that. But it's not just that. I think the club's on red alert that they could be coming any time of the way. They could be, metaphorically chapping your door and going, "Who you got that I want?" Because I'm taking them, and I don't care what you say. So why not make sure that these assets are protected? Celtic are in a position they can start recontracting. Maybe this is the method behind the madness. Start recontracting your assets early. Start fucking getting these guys on long-term deals. We can afford to be signing on fee. We can afford to increase their wages by X amount of percentage because at least one of them will fucking go each window now, potentially for crazy money. And the thing is, with Celtic having a stronger hand, now what the Jota deal's done, what the guaranteed Champions League money's done, what the potential Frimpong money will do, is put us in a space where, okay, we might have sold Jota for 25 million. Come try and get Kyogo. We've just signed him on a new deal, right? We're sitting on a bank, whatever they're going to announce. Let's say 70 million plus cash reserves. You don't need to take 25 million this time. Normal circumstances, we would. See now, the goalposts have moved. We're actually no bothered about doing that. We want 40. And suddenly, this starts all turning in our favour. And Celtic become a far more competitive force. What the Saudi thing, I think, is doing, and again, I am not sitting here condoning past human rights methods. And by the way, see if we talked about other countries, we'd be here all night talking about that. You could look no further than very close to home on that stuff, It's not my style to go down that road. I talk about a sporting context here. That Saudi money, I think, may well be a game changer in a good way for a club like us.
Aye, I think the positive thing about the Saudi league is that they've put the fear fucking right up. All the leagues in Europe massively, obviously, including England, they're getting their ironically, they're getting their pants in a fucking twist there. All this, and I think it's just kind of hilarious sitting back and watching it because you know how fucking corrupt they are. But oh well. No, I think it's healthy in a way because we'll receive these fees, but also the way that the Saudi leagues have kind of operated has been strange. It's usually you hear whispers and rumours for months and months and months going on, and then you hear like, oh, they're going to come in from this time and they're going to offer this and then increase it to this. They kind of just, the Jota thing just happened like that. It was so surreal. 1 minute it was here, next minute it was gone, and I feel like that's going to be beneficial because we will want to lock down assets then, just in case they come, chapping on the door again and saying, oh, hello, Kyogo, 30 million, and can we have him, please? And we'll give you a 30% selling clause or whatever, just so that we have the means there to demand the fees that these players should be going for. Do you know what I mean? Because I know that we slate the league in that, but if Celtic and Rangers were to play in the Championship, they'd probably squish it every season with the money they get. Do you know what I mean? I watch Championship games and that. They're no necessarily on a different level with Celtic and Rangers, and they get much more money than we do. But I think it'll be really important that as we get this money and we have we're cash rich and we have a good balance and a good flow to the money coming in, that it's going to be important that we can use that to negotiate now better deals and better terms with these players going out, and that maybe one day we will sell a player for £50 million. Do you know what I mean? Which would be incredible, because the thing we know is we know how much money these guys have got, and we know that it's not going to end anytime soon. So, and they're desperate to try and make a serious footprint on the world scale at football and try and possibly come into Europe, and they'll need all the top talent for all the leagues to do that. So, I think that's a really positive thing about it, and obviously nobody's getting into the human rights thing. This is all just purely football based. So, I think now it's a really good thing, and I think that I think Celtics can really benefit from it.
I as well, Johnny, feel that the landscape's changing right now, and I agree with you know, the English media point of view, I just think is fucking lost, man. I'm like, fuck that. Celtic is a bigger club than 18 of your 20. As far as I'm concerned, and Man City may well go on to build a legacy for generations going forward who won't care about how it was formed and stuff, and that's fine, and it'll be based on trophies. But at this moment in time, I'm convinced that Manchester United and Liverpool are the only two bigger still than Celtic, or, you know, of that ilk. You look for a strip around the world, you know, Celtic's in that top 5 or 6 that you will see in any corner of the globe. It doesn't matter. Even the new top, you'll see it everywhere. You'll see it on the bus. I love it. But I do genuinely think when it comes to this happening, we've got to kind of embrace an opportunity here where there's another buying market, and the buying market's looking at everything with obituary eyes, not judgmental eyes. They're not sneering down. I always go back to, I know this is a wee bit off Celtic. Well, that's still the same fucking league. Moussa Dembele, right? Remember his fucking brilliant first season at Celtic? Liam Boyce, but he scored more goals in the league than Moussa did that year. The SPFL's top scorer was Liam Boyce at Ross County. What an achievement for a shitey team. And he scored more than an invincible Celtic main striker, who we all thought at that point was, fuck me, we've got a live one here. How good is this guy? Sold him for £500,000. £500,000. That is when you're getting the piss taken out of you, because the English clubs are too acutely aware of the revenue streams that we have, so they lowballed everything. Whereas I think the Saudis are here just to go, this is the price we think. And they're not looking at the league. They've not got the background like where they're going to be sneering and all that. I think we're going to see a far fairer way of this going. And again, I go back to it. Celtic can start, if it is EPL clubs coming in for our big boys, start fucking challenging them the same way they look at us and are too aware of what we don't make in TV money and gate money. We can now look at them and go, well, we know what you make, and we're not now in a position we have to sell. And I think that's the vantage point. Sorry, Mark, vantage point. But that is the vantage point that Celtic are now about to have. And I think we're about to see it imminently. Because we've been building slowly, I think we're just kicking off now. We're almost ready for the Sealand change that is about to occur. Something like that.
Sea change.
Just sea change, is it? Sealand. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're right. You're right what you're saying there, but for me, we've already missed the first dance because we should have done that with Jota. Connor, you just said that when they come calling again, we know how much money they've got. Well, we knew how much fucking money they had when they came for Jota, but we didn't play hardball with them. We played harder ball with Arsenal over Kieran Tierney. There was only one club looking for Tierney. And for whatever reason, what I can make out, it would appear to me that Tierney must have said somewhere along the lines, I'm only interested in going to Arsenal because nobody else came in for him. Now, you're not telling me that the likes of Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, Chelsea wouldn't have been interested in signing Kieran Tierney, but the only team that ever got a mention was Arsenal. And Arsenal wanted to give us 15 million up front with 10 million on add-ons. And Celtic actually did play hardball there and said, no, it's 25 million up front. Once you show us that check, you can talk to the man. We should have done that with Jota. I know, we might well do it with anybody they come looking for next, but we should have done it with Jota. I'm going to stick to my guns on that one. You're right, Mark. We could have got, what was the 35 million up front? No add-ons, just up front. I'd like to know what are the add-ons with Jota? What has he got to do to kick in these add-ons that were
they're not going to tell us that, but Celtic's selling model is there's a sell-on clause. That's what we do, right? Yeah. And I think these won't be difficult conversations again to have with the Saudi League, who definitely, if they want someone, we'll get them. They'll go, what is it? And it's like, oh, we always get a 20% sell-on fee. Sound, shut up, it's done. So I think that will definitely be the main part of the clause, because that's how we do it.
Yeah, but I thought I'd read somewhere that there was other incentives, but maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I got the wrong.
There might be incentives as well.
No, you're right, John. And just quickly, John, I listened to Anthony Joseph saying that, see the fee we get for Jota straight away, we lose 30% of the full fee, right? But see any add-ons, that's all Celtics. I think what so just say if I'm talking to Celtic around 20% add-on, they'll receive that full money. You know what I mean? Or and plus future. So whereas Benfica will only get a cut of the actual initial fee. So Celtic might have a chunk of cash on the other end, John, because they might. So it's, you know what I'm saying? They'll probably value him at more than 25 million. I agree with you, John. He's definitely worth more than that, but they can't get in on that side of the deal. They're all entitled to the full first value. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Just still be might be a reason behind Celtic. Maybe they've been discussing the actual add-ons, and it'll probably be achievable add-ons because they're the champions just now, aren't they? They've signed better than the other teams. But it might be winning the league. It might be so many assists and things like that. I dare say that guy will go tear it up down there. I mean, if I don't know the quality of that league, but I'm going to suggest that outside the top 3 or 4 that's gone crazy, it's probably going to be pretty bang average. And I think him playing along Benzema and Kyogo Kante and all this, he's going to run amok, surely. And Celtic might be clever here because I think the way it works out, if it's 25 million, we're going to lose £7.5 million of that straight away because it's the full value. But just say, for instance, Celtic are due £4 or £5 million in incentives after that. That's all Celtic's cash, which would maybe equate to an extra, don't know, maybe £8 or £9 million on the initial fee if you're losing 30%.
All right, fair
On you go, Johnny.
Yeah, no, that's fair dues. But you talk about the boys, but who was the other Ross County player just a couple of years ago? Was it
Vegan Charles Cook?
But was he not top scorer that season as well?
Joint top scorer with Giakoumakis.
Was it joint with Giakoumakis? I've got no idea where he even went, how much Ross County got for him. But again, but I think Ross County work on 12-month contracts or something with most of their players, don't they?
Probably protecting themselves, aren't they? Just in case they get relegated.
Yeah. That's the difference. They're protecting themselves against relegation, whereas rather than protecting their assets to keep them on, sell them on for more money. But I've got no idea where that lad even ended up.
I mean, maybe it was that boy that for Aberdeen, he finished top goal scorer in the league and ended up going to a part-time, Salford, no part-time.
It was Rooney, wasn't it?
Was his name, sorry? Rooney?
Rooney, was it Adam Rooney or something like that?
He went to Salford United for $8 or $9 a week or something in Aberdeen, the second best team in the country at the time. And the European football promised they couldn't keep a hold of him. Man.
Couldn't match it now.
Couldn't match it, and you know this is the thing. Like it's like in England, there's an England tax where if you're buying within England or if you're bringing a player in to England, there's a tax. So a £5 million player becomes a £20 million player. But there's also a Scottish tax where ours doesn't include VAT. It's like a duty-free shopping list. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think, and it's terrible. It's terrible that we get it. I mean, but Celtic's maybe the duty-free section, and England's maybe the Waitrose section. I don't know, but I just think that we need to start expecting more transfer fees. I always talk about Celtic being scared to set a precedent by spending 20-30 million pound on players. They could afford one every couple of years, but they won't do it because they don't want to set a standard. But they should be setting their own standards by saying, we don't want £8 million for Juranovic. We've told you he's world class. We're telling you he's world class. If you want him, he's 15.
I don't think that's as Celtic based as you think. I think that a lot of that is there was a rumour about clauses and stuff, but I genuinely think there was a lot of that was Ange. I know that's
perhaps, mate. You know, Ange is all about commitment. Boys say Ange is all about all these pretending you're committed and having.
But if you annoy me, you're gone. That was which I don't think was always the best way, Johnny. Do you know what I mean? But do you envisage us, Johnny? I know I did come. Sorry, mate.
That was me.
It was a bit. No, it's fine because it was a vague comment. Now you've seen Brendan in the training ground photos, though. How did you feel when you seen that? I did the wee solo show last night briefly, and I said I felt fucking surreal. I mean, that one hit me more than the pressers. That was the one I went, oh my God. Then you see the video of him shaking everyone's hands, and of course Matt O'Reilly came out, and I think the one thing he's learnt from Ange, Johnny, is how to give the subtle dig, which was definitely, at least this manager fucking talks to us, mate. That is what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was any secret that Ange was very, to put it at best, distant with players. I mean, you hear the stories about sat in a plane with him for 12 hours on a flight from Australia to somewhere, and he never said 2 words to me. He never said 1 word to me, never mind 2 words. And he wasn't known for talking. And he said he didn't really go often at the dressing room. He said that's the player's domain. That was the reason he gave for it. That's Callum's area. It's the player's domain. I don't really speak too much with the players, blah, blah, blah. I think Brendan's obviously going to be a lot more hands-on. If not, I'm your best pal, but he will still be a lot closer to the players. And maybe that's how he gets the best out of players like Scott Brown and James Forrest when he was there the first time. Maybe that's how he gets the best out of these guys, because these guys want to do their best for him. A bit over the top. Yeah, I only seen the little clips that you boys were putting on the WhatsApp group over the last few days of these, and I haven't seen the. I've read the bits of Matt O'Reilly's interview. I haven't actually watched it, but Brendan coming in and not having a problem sitting down and having some food with them and a cup of coffee or whatever it is. So I think everybody's got their own different methods of working, what they think works best. And if Brendan thinks that's the best way, and if it's Brendan's way and it works, then I'm all for it. Of course you're going to be all for it. Going to win us another league, isn't he?
Absolutely. Connor, we've talked about, I think the ruthlessness of Andrews to be applauded at times, undeniably. Now we're seeing, though, a different approach with the players, and sometimes it is a softly approach that they need. And I think, the rumours are obviously Ange had his favourites. I mean, we said that in the bus. I don't think that took fucking... I didn't take, double glazed specs to be able to see that he definitely had his favourites in the squad. I just wonder, though, if it's better that you've got that sort of universal. There is an order here of play, like, I am the boss, I'll be taking charge. But you know what? And one of the things he says, and he's been consistent in this, in every interview, not just at Celtic, but since even before Celtic, before Liverpool, he wants to improve the individual as a person. That means he takes an interest in them. I just wonder if that is one of the traits why he got the Liverpool job at 39 years old. I think that is because, a Liverpool manager in his 30s. What? That's ridiculous when you look back at it. Especially not a sexy name from abroad, which the EPL is littered with now. You look back at it, it's because he's in touch with what young players want to fucking hear from a manager. They want to hear, good things. They want to be told, this is where I can take your career. They want an arm round their shoulder when they need it. And obviously, you'll not be scared of giving a row out when it's required as well. But I do think you'll have far more interaction individually with the players than what Ange Postecoglou did. And I just think Matt O'Reilly was kind of setting... It was undeniably, it was a shot. I mean, I don't think there's any two ways about it. He was basically highlighting, this is how I feel about before. This is the biggest difference now. And I think he said it almost, in a way, you could say, that Andrew would have been proud of.
Aye, I mean, I kind of makes you laugh. Like, mine, before he left, everybody was thinking Andrew's like their big favourite uncle and that he was their best pal and that. You're like, they probably wouldn't, if you weren't a Celtic fan, would he say that to you on the street, mate? He's no your best pal. He's no this, he's no like the jolly Aussie giant. You know what I mean? That's not what he was like. But with Brendan, yeah, I think, see when you break it into brass tacks, he's one of the only managers that I know of that has got a fucking degree in psychology. So he knows how the human brain works. He knows
I've said that a lot. I'm not actually entirely sure it's true. I just say things. I think it's true, though.
Well, if it's true, so you're right.
He definitely does. I tell you. I just see when I hear someone saying something back that I know I've definitely said a few times back. You get that wave of fear when you go, I don't know, like now I hear someone else say it, I'm like, oh, was that winging that one?
But he knows how people tick, and a footballer's brain works completely differently to like the average person's brain. You have to get them ready to deal with a lot of psychological, problems going into hostile grounds, and There's there's fucking Snake Mountain there in Govan, which is probably one of the most hostile atmospheres in Europe. But, you know, getting young players and that hyped up for that, to go into that kind of atmosphere, you know, must take a lot of work. And I feel like Brendan, you seen the work he did. You seen me people like Scott Brown and James Forrest, who have already mentioned, were probably looking at themselves before he came in like, I'm at the end of my rope here at Celtic. There's no much more I can give and no much more I can do. He's came in, you know, he sat down with Scott Brown for a dinner even before, you know, he came in, and he's also done the same thing with Callum McGregor. He's getting to know these boys personally. Do you know what I mean? He's smacking them on the face. He's like, "Oh, did you get a wee shave? Did you get a wee shave?" He's just like, he's, you know, and it was really refreshing to see that bit of, you know, the human side of the manager, which obviously Brendan's quite famed for, but you never really seen it with Ange. It was something, you see the videos, you compare the two. Ange was always off in the background in the training video, just watching, no saying nothing, just watching. Brendan's in the middle of it. He's smack bang in the middle. Eyes watching, he's taking it on, but he's communicating, he's interacting, he's getting a feel for the players, how they may be feeling, you know. I've got the feeling that if fucking, I don't know, Starfelt's probably going through a bit of a shite time now. His bird's just left, right? He's probably like, right, Caramon, I'll take you for a Copperberg, big man.
What are you talking about, by the way? What are you actually talking about?
No, Copperberg's Swedish, is it not?
I know it is. I don't
And,
think for a side.
No, I'm not saying he would, but he's the kind of person who would approach you in that kind of manner, and who's, you know, more personable with the players. And I think that's something that is going to be really important, because you know, we see these players and we're like, oh, we're still stuck with you know, a couple of the ones for last time round, and are we really going to progress, even though it's still early doors and people are already, you know, at fucking DEFCON 2 worrying about stuff like that. But, you know, he could have a massive impact on these players. We don't know yet. And I've got every faith in Brendan that he's going to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Very true. Right, okay. Let's go to the comments. Who wants to start us off with some questions? Again, we call it the T.N.F. It just does the same as every other show. It's just 4 different gadgets doing it, to be honest. But I told Boise has a degree in hairstyles. I will fucking, the longer that lasts, the better. Right, Judge, I've got a wee quick one. Do you subscribe to my theory that if the Korean winger joins, again, that would be a Celtic signing, not a Brendan signing? Do you think we'll know the difference between a Brendan Rodgers, that's fundamentally a Brendan Rodgers signing, and what will be, that's the club's making a signing because they're carrying on their trade? And do you think maybe there's been a sort of agreement made on that? Like, look, see in the future if we sign a Shved, it's because we're doing that anyway. We won't make that like someone that's forced upon yourself. We're doing that signing anyway because the club, that's our project. That's our future for the club, right? Maybe the waters got muddied before where it felt like we were forcing players upon you, and Brendan will go, well, that's because you never got me my targets. Mm-hmm. So if the sort of the agreement has been, we'll now strive to get you your targets, but as well as that, accept the fact there'll be guys coming in with your nod of approval. Obviously, in the end, you'll get the final say, but that we'll recommend to you. That's how it's going to work for now. And I think some people are maybe wetting the bed a wee bit too early. I think we're all anticipating the first Brendan Rodgers signing. Do you think that is maybe how this is going to look? We're going to have 2 parallel lines of transfer activity this summer. You'll be able to identify which is a Brendan, which is a Celtic.
Well, I think if you look at the model for Man City, there's definitely Man City signings and there's Pep Guardiola signings. And if Celtic have learned any lessons for that club, it's probably is that you go to supplement your squad with players that can come in, but also they're going to give you additional financial value if you're going to move them on. I think the players that's come in are obviously players that have been looked at before, and I agree with this guy coming in looks like a Celtic signing. I think you will see a difference because we'll know instinctively the players that's coming in just by looking at their profile. Yeah, that's a Brendan Rodgers signing. We had the guy for 3 years. We know how he ticks on the park, and although he has probably evolved his game a wee bit, I think we can tell how Brendan Rodgers is going to set Celtic up. And the good thing about that is Celtic are going to bring in players like this young boy. I think the deal's done. Is it Yang? He looks exciting. So see even if he's no Brendan Rodgers signing, he looks exciting enough that he can make an impact. If Celtic can bring in the players that he's looking for who are of a higher level, and what a backup player that would be. You know what I mean? I think people are panicking, sorry, that when we sign players yet, but he's only in the door. He first to training was Monday. I think he's identified players already the last couple of weeks, but he's only in the door Monday. He'd be foolish not to assess the players he's got, because there will be hidden gems in there that he's just had these coaching hands on yet. I mean, we've all spoken about the players who are made far better under him in the previous. And there might be players who will work. I think David Turnbull might be a player under Rodgers. I've got a wee feeling and I'm not a big fan of Turnbull. I've said that a million times, but I've got a feeling this guy might produce good football under him. Whether that's Matt O'Reilly or him, I think there'll be a player out of the two of them. I'm not a big fan of Matt O'Reilly last season, but I think there's a player in there as well. But these signings, they'll have Brendan's stamp of approval. I read that he spoke to that young boy home in Menorca. So
probably about 3 weeks before he was announced.
He's the only person I know. It's the only person that I know that speaks to players before he's even signed. It just lets you know that Celtic has signed him.
That does shit together with that, mate.
Do you know something? This is the first time Celtic have been proactive rather than reactive. I think Celtic, when they brought him to Hampden, I think they were showing hands. Listen, go all you want. Go all you fucking want. Because do you know what? We've got somebody better coming in the door. You can go and you can lap it up in London and spend £100 million on a keeper all you want. Does it guarantee you success in England? We'll bring in a player. We'll forget about you in 2 months. A manager, we'll forget about you in 2 months. I think the Celtic fans are beginning to... I think it was on a comment on your show last night. You did yourself. I'll repeat that. But somebody said they forgot about Andrew Redden. And do you know something? I have forgot about him. See, the minute he walked out of Celtic, I got a wee bit better about it, but I thought, if we get Brendan Rodgers...
The show or Ange?
No, both. I'm better about both. That's quite clear, because if I mentioned it on the show, it's just a bit no, but do you know, this is the thing. We will see an elevation in the type of player coming in, because see any problems that we've had before with Rodgers on the board, you've got to assume that the fact that he's come back, it's not been on the same terms, boys. And I think that'll be good for the fans more than anybody.
I agree. Johnny, I'm going to kick you off with the comments, all right? I like this question. What did you make Hatate saying in the interview he wasn't really drawn by the Saudi thing? That was what he was trying to obviously dampen that one. Whilst his agent is probably going, Celtic, if Maeda's getting a new deal, are you taking the piss, son? Like, have you seen the last 18 months? Hello? But, notwithstanding that, he said that's not what he sees his future, but he does dream of playing in the EPL. Does that piss you off, or is that something that we just need to accept?
It's just realistic, isn't it? It's something you've got to accept. I think any player who comes from out with Britain to play for Celtic, play for the team across the other side of the city, they've got their eye on across the border. You know, it's an MLB. They've probably grown up, depending on their age, where they come from, they've probably grown up watching more Premiership football than we have. And it's next door to us. You know, they know all the teams, they know all the clubs. They will actively support a Liverpool, a Man United, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, whatever. And they've got their eye on that. And there's no two ways about it. So it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Because we've got to come to realise that however much we think that they come to us and they get it, and you know they never get it anywhere near at the same level as we do. Do you find it refreshing, Johnny, that he's just telling it like it is, or just it piss? That's probably the point. Because I think that the facts that you're repeating there are undeniable. I don't know if I find it refreshing.
Johnny, right? Undeniable.
You know, it's obviously refreshing
to be admired,
but then again, because he's not trying to. he's not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes and say, I'm going to be here for the next 3 years unless I get emptied. He's just being honest, and he's being honest with us. We know it, but we know at the minute. How long has he still got left on his deal? He'll have 3.5 years. If we can, he's the one I'd like to see sign an extension of his contract, because then that might just give us a bit more stability.
He's been here at the same time as Maeda.
So do I find it refreshing? No, I like to see it. It's a bit more honesty than a lot of people might have been, but we know it. But it doesn't matter what they say when they sit down at their interview with the guy who does Celtic TV, who asks the same 10 questions when we have a new player. He wants to play in the Premiership. I don't care who he is. I don't care where he's come from. He wants to play in the Premiership. We couldn't keep Kieran Tierney, for Christ's sake, and he was a bloody ball boy, born and brought up Celtic supporter. He was a ball boy at the ground, exactly. And we couldn't keep him. So how are we going to keep the likes of Itati when they've got the Ryan in the Premiership? So it's nice to see. It's just honest. It's just honesty, and I'm glad to see he's been honest. I wouldn't say it's refreshing.
That's fair. No, totally fair. Connor, what do you make of it? Itati, I mean, is he someone that'll be, whilst he's not been offered the new deal, or maybe he has, maybe he'll be the next. Maybe it'll be 3 Japanese players. What about that? So Japanesey. 3 new extensions for our Japanese contingent. I mean, Itati signing a new deal would be unbelievable, but then really would be putting up the fear at me that my theory about Saudi Arabia could be right. I'd be like, wait, they're all 3. I'd be like, what is happening here? However, do you think he's just been honest with it? Well, obviously he's been honest about the EPL drive. Do you want to hear that from your players? Do you think it's, as I say, a refreshing honesty? Is it something that needs to be said? Is it just something that really is a truth we all know that could just be, right? We don't really need to comment that. If you're not interested in going to Saudi, don't mention the EPL. You don't need it.
I don't know. I'm kind of in a mixture of both. I'm kind of just like, okay, fair enough. You've came out and you've admitted it. I think, like we deep down, we all know that all these players who aren't, born and bred in England that are brought up Celtic supporters, they want to just go and play in that league. You know what I mean? That's the pinnacle of their career. As it were, that's what they see it. That's what they see it going to. And yeah, I think it's a bit. I feel like we're kind of okay with it because he kind of seems like the kind of guy where he's not going to necessarily let his personal ambitions affect how he plays. I don't think he's going to down tools or anything like that. He's not going to do like an Edward or anything like that, where he's not going to be like, oh fuck, he's never got me my move to Brighton. Even if you see my way next season, I'm not going to fucking bother. It doesn't seem like that to me. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but that's not what he strikes me as. All the Japanese guys, and I don't know if this is me, pigeonholing them, but they all seem to have a very good work ethic and a very good, air of professionalism when it comes to playing for the club and representing the club. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's natural. You know what I mean, he's a young guy. He's obviously very, very talented. He knows how talented he is, and he's getting plaudits fucking all across the internet. He was getting it during the Champions League for some of his play. I mean, I even seen yesterday. I was on Twitter, and there was this massive Man United fan. He's got a massive account on Twitter, and he put an image. It had a tatty in a Man United kit saying "Make it happen." It got like 35k likes, and he put a compilation of Hatati under it, and they were saying, "Oh, I suppose a baller. He'd be fucking amazing and all that. I'll get this done, Man United and stuff like that." So, do you know what I mean? It's natural. These players aren't fucking daft. They're on social media and that. They see all this. They know what the bright lights of the Premier League are just over the horizon if they maintain the standard that they've been keeping for us so far. So, yeah, I don't really see anything bad with it. It's, if he does go, he does go. I don't think he'll go this season. I've just got a funny feeling that he won't go this season. Famous last words, but that he won't go this season. And I think it could be maybe a triple, contract extension. I feel that would send a fucking message to the other leagues as well as this league and the orcs across the city saying these boys that have been tearing you a fucking the arsehole for the last 2 years, well, they're still here and they're going to do it again under a better manager.
Well, that's also true. Do you know what I mean? You know, don't want to bring up any stupid comments. Do you know what I mean? But you know,
We did up in that, fuck's sake.
Lucas Moura for Spurs. He's free. He's 30. Stevie Kenny. You're good at giving me pelters, mate, but that's not happening. That is not. I don't think we're paying 100 grand a week to 30-year-olds. I mean, would he do well at Celtic though, Stevie Kenny? Yeah, you're right, he would. But big shout out as well to Stephen Fleming, who has become a member just on the hour mark. We do appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's just interesting to think about the attack thing. From my point of view, personally, I just go, he's just telling the truth. I don't really need to hear it though, Atati. I don't know if it's a wee nudge at Maeda getting a new deal and like that. Have you seen the body of work that the Tours have done the last 18 months?
Mm.
Where's my new deal? It could be agents telling to say these things as well. Do you know what I mean? We never know. But yes, we will leave it there. It's been brilliant fun on the T.N.F. As always, that's just an hour rounded up. 273 passengers on the bus as we speak. So a big thank you to you all. Remember, hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Give a like. Give a share. Slag my hair. Didn't slag Connors because he's looking young, fresh, and talented.
Yeah, I should have kept the tash for Maeda signing his new deal, eh?
You should have.
Boys, I seen Monty right now. I was going through the comments there. Boys, he was messaging me saying, "Is Bernardi ahead in Gem?" Monty, I think he's merely finding a hair inside your pizza. To be quite honest with you, that's what I wanted to say to Monty.
I would like to say, Mark, I think there's more chance of certain Celtic Twitter fan accounts or whatever they are, fannies, climbing the Great Wall of China than there is a Bernabeu.
Well, it's interesting how you can spare 30 minutes once a week to do your proposed podcast, but you can climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
The Alps.
The Alps and all the rest of it, and do a moonwalk doing fucking, I don't know, George Square, whatever it is he was going to do. I find there's a lot of folk in this world that are absolutely fucking bonkers, and I think they give a lot of folk a lot of joy. So it's a pity.
Do you know the worst bit is? It feels like we've all been blocked. We've all been blocked. We've all been blocked on no Twitter by the big man. And it's like, all because I basically said, mate, I'll sponsor you if you climb Kilimanjaro, the Alps. And I will do it. I just don't believe you. What's wrong with saying that? Why can we not just be honest in the world?
Well, if you can pretend you've got a season ticket, you can pretend that you're going to climb the Alps. I mean, who's going to know the difference? There's not much. I think I must admit, there's sometimes like you drive past like a car crash. I think it's human nature to look out the window. So that was me when I get blocked. I thought I'm going to miss a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And I thought, bastard. But I'll no miss it too much. I'm sure I'll see some quote tweets going about Twitter. You always find it. You know what I mean? Well, Joe Sutton, see when you pimp yourself out to every podcast on the planet.
Oh,
you think to yourself, Joe Sutton, I must be a fucking rocket. And you know what? And there's plenty of folk out there who are just fucking rockets. I mean. This is a Paul Weller podcast, but do you know something? We do no bad for a Paul Weller podcast. You know
Paul Weller podcast, what an insult, man!
Like, to be honest with you, it could be worse. You could pretend that you're a different fucking race if you feel like yours. You know what I mean? And pretend you've got a season ticket, and pretend you're going to do a moonwalk with mad stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know what it was. It was this series of mad events that just weren't going to take place. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you can sponsor somebody and they don't do the sponsorship, you've got to have to keep the money. Maybe it's a ruse by the guy, maybe it's an excellent money maker. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'm going to contact the Celtic Foundation tomorrow and see what crazy ideas I can come up with. I might do, I don't know, a sponsored hold my breath for 4 weeks, see how I go on. What's me with these things?
Be a sponsor silence.
You could do a sponsored I'm the man to turn Bernabeu into a player.
Was that, John?
You could do a sponsored I'm the man to turn Bernabeu into a player.
Well, that's more realistic than climbing
That's ambition.
Mount Kilimanjaro with a
Aye.
fucking a carrier bag full of
Cans.
Starburst and onion rings. Come on.
We'll be the bad boys for all this, remember. But yeah, and Ian McIntosh,
Oh,
just before I go, I just want to say, Ian, you are bang on the money. He says, Boycie, you were the one saying let us dream regarding unrealistic signings, mate. And you just pushed in Stevie Kenny's fucking cornflakes by saying that, Lucas Moore would be unrealistic. Do you know what, Ian? You've got me. You've absolutely got me, Ian. And I think that's fair comment. We'll round it up on that because on the bus, we like balance in the debate. We like people challenging our points of view because we don't get much right. We get some wrong. But we all have a good time. It's been the T.N.F. Good night.
Yeah, we
Take
are
care.
legends.